Cape Town is pouring billions into so-called infrastructure development, significantly more than any other city in South Africa. Yet, it's the middle-class families of the mother city who are being crushed to pay the bill. Taxes are soaring, electricity tariffs are exploding sky high, not to improve their suburbs, but to bankroll a growing empire of informal settlements, which, at the current trend, will lead the Western Cape becoming a majority black province for the first time in its history in less than 2 years from now. Behind the city's so-called pro-poor budget lies a radical demographic revolution, one that's not only draining the city's middle class, but completely transforming the very nature of what has always made Cape Town a unique city. Stay tuned, because in this video we'll expose how the mother city is being completely destroyed by the city's pro-immigration policies. When comparing the planned infrastructural development budget for the major metros in South Africa, Cape Town stands out as having budgeted by far the most. Its 14.3 billion or around $1 billion infrastructure budget for next year is almost double that of the city with the second largest budget, Johannesburg, despite having much smaller population. In fact, Cape Town plans to spend no less than 5 times more on infrastructure per capita than major Gauteng metros such as Tshwane and Ekurhuleni do. But this is not all. The mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill-Lewis, has announced that the city will be spending no less than 40 billion rands or $2.3 billion on infrastructure development and maintenance over the next 3 years, with more than 70% of that to be spent on low-income and informal settlements that do not pay any property taxes themselves. Of the 14 billion allocated for next year's budget, 9 billion will therefore be spent on townships such as Khayelitsha, Gugulethu and Yanga, which alone is still more than the entire infrastructure budget of Johannesburg. But where does this strategy of investing so much money in townships come from? This is a result of the DA Mayor of Cape Town's so-called pro-poor budget, which effectively entails drastically raising the rates and tariffs of middle-class homeowners and businesses in order to fund the so-called poor.
We are still working on a budget allocation from 2011 census. The city has grown by 1 million people since then. So our actual allocation should jump enormously. The city is growing at 3% a year in terms of population, 150,000 people a year. It really must reflect that in our allocation. Otherwise, you are delivering services to more and more people with the same pie, which means that everyone has to make do with less. That's not sustainable.
And the city of Cape Town's population has indeed grown massively. Between 2011 and 2022, the city's population grew from 3.7 million to 4.7 million. But the fact that Jordan Hill-Lewis ignores is that this is not the result of immigration of middle-class families from Pretoria, but rather the result of mass immigration of poor, jobless Xhosa families from the Eastern Cape. And who is there to foot this bill? Middle-class Cape Townians, of course. Just this year, property taxes rose by 8% and fixed electricity charges by 27% for this city, by far the highest in the country. For a middle-class family in Goodwood or Parow, this means roughly 350 rands more per month, or 4,500 rands annually. In wealthier suburbs like Rondebosch, increases have been as much as 600 rands per month, and driving all of these hikes isn't improved service for ratepayers, but the staggering cost of developing Cape Town's informal settlements to accommodate more people. Already, more than half the city's new levy increases are swallowed up by free services, policing and infrastructure in these informal settlements. To the liberal, humanitarian, egalitarian and the socialist, this so-called pro-poor budget may at first glance come across as a win for the city of Cape Town, which now, after all, spends more on poor people than any other city in the country. Yet, the reality is that everything that has made Cape Town unique is coming to an end. Indeed, the demographic shift that the city's government is facilitating means the end of Cape Town as we know it today. Over the past decade, the number of illegal squatters in Cape Town has exploded, from just about 300,000 in 2015 to a staggering 1.5 million today. And this isn't coming out of nowhere. It's being facilitated by the Liberal DA government running the Western Cape and the city of Cape Town. And as Cape Town becomes known as the city of free services, more economic migrants flood in. A further strain on infrastructure and escalating in crime and driving up costs for hard-working ratepayers in middle-class areas. Just as Germany's generous welfare policies attracted wave after wave of migrants in 2015, Cape Town's approach is turning the city into a magnet for mass migration from all rural places all over Africa. Not just South Africa, but all over the continent. The biggest problem in all of this is that job opportunities are relatively scarce in Cape Town. Compared to South Africa's economic heartland, Gauteng, Cape Town doesn't have the massive industrial complexes of Roslyn and Acacia and in Pretoria. Cape Town doesn't have the mining operations of the Witwatersrand around Johannesburg. Cape Town doesn't even have 10% of the formal businesses and financial sector that is established in the cities of Pretoria and Johannesburg. This is why professionals such as engineers and lawyers earn on average 30 to 40% less in the Western Cape than in Gauteng. This also means that there aren't even opportunities for low-skilled workers for jobs in otherwise high-skilled companies. So the question is, where on earth will all these masses find employment in this tiny city of Cape Town? Will the relatively small middle class of Cape Town forever have to foot the bill to provide for these masses? Well, the question seems to answer itself. The demographic changes confirm this. Back in 2011, the demographic makeup of the city of Cape Town was 42% colored, 39% black, and 16% white. Afrikaans was spoken as a first language by 36% of the population, isiXhosa by 30%, and English by 28%. Now bear in mind that this was already the result of decades of immigration into the Cape and into a city where black people had historically constituted only a tiny minority. However, today, for the first time in all of its history, black people actually constitute the largest racial group in the city of Cape Town. According to the 2022 census, black Africans constitute 46% of Cape Town's population, with the colored share of the population dropping to just 36% and the white population remaining stable at 16%. Xhosa, a language with no historical connection to the Cape, is now spoken by more people than Afrikaans. At these trends, it means that Cape Town today is already a majority black city, and this massive growth in migration will lead to the Western Cape becoming majority black by late 2026 or early 2027. A province that historically had no significant black population. And why? Because the DA government is drawing all of South Africa and all of Africa to Cape Town with promises of free stuff to be paid by the already struggling middle class. Yes, perhaps the greatest evil of all of this is the fact that the Cape Town government is making the hard-working, rate-paying people of the city pay for all of this mayhem and pay for their own city's destruction. This is a profound demographic change, and in addition to costing the city's middle class billions every year, it is completely destroying the very fabric of Cape Townian and Western Cape society. Is it any wonder then that the right-wing Patriotic Alliance or coloured Nationalist Patriotic Alliance, which is at least fighting for the interests of the Cape coloured people, is absolutely destroying the DA in almost every by-election. In a Swellendam ward election held earlier this week, the Patriotic Alliance grew from just 1% in the previous election to 51% today, while the DA support declined from 34 to 19%. This is just the most recent example of dozens of by-elections in which the Patriotic Alliance is absolutely eating all of the DA support among the coloured voter in the Western Cape. And with the demographics of the Cape and Cape Town rapidly transforming as it is, the province may actually sooner rather than later descend into a rather ugly political battleground between the Patriotic Alliance on the one hand, with its coloured base, and the Pan-Africanist parties such as the ANC, the EFF and the MK with its black Xhosa voter base on the other end. What a profound change that would be. But it is a scenario that actually grows more and more likely by the day as the political vultures are ready to pounce upon the rubble bound to be left by the Liberals currently destroying Cape Town and the surrounding areas. The DA paid for their own destruction. For more of these developments, watch our recent report on how the DA is hemorrhaging these coloured voters in the Western Cape by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now for an explanation on why and how that is happening. And if you like our content and would like to see more, consider supporting our work by becoming a paid member of the Willem Petscher Group. Simply follow the easy steps on the banner at the bottom of your screen. Goodbye and God bless.